Well, G. Bush, we made it to the end of a disappointing, to say the least, Browns season. We are at the 2-minute warning of the Browns-Ravens Week 18 finale, and Bailey Zappy just threw a red zone interception to a 355-pound defensive tackle, which to me feels like the perfect encapsulation and way to end what was just a horrific, god-awful, catastrophically bad season for the Cleveland Browns. Nothing really to take away from today. It's a meaningless game except for the Ravens. But let's start, G, with what we were texting about a second ago. Mike Hall injured in the third quarter of the game, I believe. The third quarter. Obviously, something you don't want to see. He was having a promising rookie season. But you've been through something similar to this before. Fill us in on what this kind of means for the promising rookie's development here.
Yeah, man. You hate to see it go down that way. And I put it on Twitter. And first of all, I wasn't trying to say that we know exactly what it is. It's hurt. Hopefully he's good and he doesn't have any long-term residual stuff. But I remember when I was playing the last game of the season, this is how old I am. We were playing 9/11. So 9/11 happened. The game got postponed. We were playing North Carolina State. And they're like, oh, this is North Carolina State. We're going to finish this game. They postponed it to the last game of the season. And we were playing Phillip Rivers. Now, think about how old Phillip Rivers is. And he was in college.
38 kids. He got a whole
Now, he got 40 kids. And so we played a game, and I blew my knee out. Now, I played that whole year. I was a redshirt freshman. I was starting. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, you're playing one of those games. You're playing hard. You know what I'm saying? I got a couple pressures. I'm moving around. And then you get injured in that sense, and you don't really notice how much that sets you back, because what happens is you now have to spend all off season rehabbing. You now have to start, your program later. Now you're going to, if there's more things that you got to get acclimated to, you're not getting better. You're just out there just trying to get back to what you were. So it sucks, because now you talk about Mike Hall Jr. and Mike Hall being a big part of what the Cleveland Browns want to do. And obviously he's a guy that, that's why they were playing the young guys today, because they want to see who they got and something to match with Myles Garrett. But then you have him go down, and that puts you back behind the 8 ball. You look at the situation where now you don't know if he's going to be back ready to go during training camp. You don't know what's going on with JOK in that instance in terms of his neck. And it's just more question marks that you have to add to the puzzle, because you can't evaluate these guys. Now it's like, we'll get Mike Hall back at some point. We'll get him back. And you see how long it took Jed Wills. You see how long it took Jack Conklin. And those were like meniscus injuries. Those weren't anything crazy. So, the one thing that I talked about, and I'll toss it to you guys, is when they talked about the since the Ravens have come on, they've had 2 general managers, and they've had 2 head coaches. In that time frame, they've had 38 Pro Bowlers that they've drafted themselves. 38 Pro Bowlers. And when you're drafting at that high of a clip, and when you got guys that are performing at that clip, and every single year it just seems like the guys you draft, something happens, whether it's off the field suspension or it's an injury that ends the whole season. I mean, come on, like even the quarterbacks are injured, right? So it's unfortunate for Mike Hall, because we were counting on him to be a starter. Let's be with Frank. He's a 2nd-round pick. Next year, he was coming in as a starter with Myles Garrett. We were looking to do something in the draft and say, hey, let's get an Abdul Carter or something, and now we got a great line. But hopefully everything is good with that. But it just goes to the bigger picture, McNuggets, of just the stuff that always seems to happen with the Browns. It's just the Browns. It's just the Browns stuff, man.
Earl, thoughts on today's game that meant absolutely nothing?
I don't really have thoughts on the game. I got thoughts on the Browns overall. I mean, 73, 138, and 1. After this clock hits 0, that is the Cleveland Browns record with Jimmy Haslam as the owner. And, we did a poll probably 6-7 months back when we asked the fans, who did we think was the best overall owner in the city of Cleveland? And overwhelmingly, Jimmy Haslam won that poll. And we think that Jimmy Haslam is a great owner because he spends money. The fact of the matter is, this has been a porous franchise, and we have not won. And everything that we thought we would accomplish with him as an owner, we haven't. I think it's too many cooks in the kitchen. I think there's too many hands in the pot. And as long as that's the case, man, I think, unfortunately, the Cleveland Browns is going to always find themselves right back here, right? Like, I think we like Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski as people. We don't know what Paul DePodesta does. You just look at the whole collection of people that's upstairs making decisions, on talent. You see what goes on with the miscommunications, the lack of leadership on the football field. And these are the results. It's really hard to have thoughts on a game where, the Browns never stood a chance. The Ravens covered damn near a 20-point spread. So
they covered.
I'm saying they covered damn near a 20-point spread. Like, that should tell you everything that you need to know about the Cleveland Browns and how it's looking. As we turn this page and get ready for the offseason, we got a lot of unanswered questions. We don't know if Myles Garrett is going to be here. It seems like all signs point to Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry coming back and being able to coach and make draft picks again, which sucks because that means nobody is being held accountable for the product that was put out there on the football field. So, the Cleveland Browns are going to find a way to win the offseason again, and everybody that's in the comments now going off talking about how they're done and been pissed off about all this crap, they're going to be right back loud and proud, right back in cheering for the Browns next year like nothing ever happened. And it sucks that this is the rinse repeat cycle that this ownership has put us in. So it is.
We'll get to the big picture in a second. I do want to mention one thing from today's game in particular, which was I am once again baffled and befuddled at whatever Stefanski and the offensive coaching staff appears to be seeing in practice that doesn't translate to the game, because I didn't think Bailey Zappy played incredible by any means today. Like, he played an average game, right? He was fine. Like, it was nothing special. Baltimore didn't really bring pressure. But even in the one series that we saw at DTR, which was very similar to the games we had seen from DTR in prior weeks, Bailey Zappy is like 5 times better than DTR guys. And if you're going to tell me that they had Zappy in camp since Deshaun got hurt, and if they were serious about trying to win games, which I have my doubts they were ever actually serious, and maybe playing DTR was just their intentional way of unintentionally losing games without actually admitting we're losing games. I just question how you saw DTR in camp and said he's better than all these other guys. They traded Josh Dobbs. They've been making him the backup quarterback. You come into this season because you trust DTR. We heard all these reports. He looked better than anyone in camp. Gee, tell me if I'm wrong. Bailey Zappy looked 7 times better than DTR ever did today. And I don't even think Bailey Zappy played that good today. It's more of an indictment on DTR than it is a testament to Bailey Zappy. But I didn't think Zappy played terrible considering the circumstances.
The scary part, McNuggets, is they simply don't understand what's good and what's not. It's very evident. I mean, they told you Deshaun Watson gave you the best chance to win, right? Then when Jameis Winston came in, obviously he was at least throwing for 400, 500 yards. You said that DTR needs to get a shot. And we talked about it this morning on the radio. Like, this is the thing that kind of irks me a little bit, because we're talking ourselves into this, right? And Earl brought this point up. He said, if Kevin Stefanski is such a great coach and he's a quarterback whisperer, why is it that we at every single turn we give him an excuse, and yet we won't give him the responsibility? So if we ask this question to you guys, if Kevin Stefanski is a quarterback whisperer, he has not had his quarterback, Baker Mayfield he inherited, Deshaun Watson, you guys have already said that was Jimmy Haslam. We've already obfuscated any blame on Kevin Stefanski on that. If the Cleveland Browns end up with the number 1 overall pick, and he says, I want this quarterback, it doesn't matter who it is, said quarterback at pick number 1, would you guys want a quarterback? No. And the funny thing is, McNuggets, everybody you ask that to, they shake their head and say no. Now, if you shake your head and say no, you have to then go to the next step. Why is it that your quarterback, the 2-time coach of the year, the one that you keep saying that you want around, why is he asking for something and you keep telling him, no, that's not what you want? At some point in time, you got to let the man have what he wants, right? Or if he's not the man that we keep claiming he is, you got to let him roll and get somebody else, McNuggets.
Yeah, that kind of came off a conversation that we had earlier with one of the Browns beat reporters. Like, I'll just go backwards before I go forward. I mean, I hear what you're saying about this game, Mike. But if I'm being honest, the Browns weren't trying to win this game.
They weren't trying to win this.
They
No.
went.
No,
So
no,
it's hard.
I'm not even saying
it's hard to even point out Bailey Zappy was better than DTR. I don't think anything that was quote unquote preparation for this week can be looked at taken seriously. So I have absolutely nothing on this game. The Browns are trying to lose. Like when it comes to Kevin Stefanski, so I asked a Cleveland Browns beat reporter, based on the information we've been given, this quarterback class that's about to come out in April is not that good. Everybody says this class is weak, and if you draft Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, it's a reach. Okay, cool, whatever, right? Draft experts are even wrong. I asked them, I said, so if they're in the situation, they get a top 3 pick, and Kevin Stefanski identifies Cam Ward, for example, and he says, I want this quarterback. I can work with this dude. Let me develop this dude. Would you draft a quarterback? He said no. He said it will still be a reach because the analytics say that this is a weak draft class and you should trade the pick backwards. This is part of why the Cleveland Browns are in the situation that they're in, right? And I hope the Cleveland Browns somehow, some way end up with the number 1 pick because I want them to be on full display in a situation to where your talent evaluation is either exposed or proven to be, okay, you know what the hell you're doing. It's kind of like when we be playing fantasy football. Remember how we was all sitting around on draft day and Tyvis had the number 1 pick and Tyvis was sitting there nervous as hell, not sure what player to pick. And everybody else was sitting there like, you know what? At least I ain't in Tyvis' situation. I'm going to go ahead and go with whoever he don't pick. So I hope the Browns are put in that situation because now it seems like y'all are almost scared to evaluate if a guy is good or not. And you don't want to be wrong again. Like, no, that's BS, man. Like, I hope they put themselves in that situation.
So if they end up with the number 1 pick, Earl and G. Well, okay, I got to go forward real quick.
Right, yeah, okay.
No matter what happens, if Barry and Stefanski are safe, they start next season on the hot seat. There's no question about that. If they survive this, they start next season, and the hot seat's not just like a little simmer. We're blasting at 7-8 to start the year. If you know you're on the hot seat as a general manager and a head coach, what's the one thing that could potentially buy you time? A young quarterback.
Yes.
Then you could say, oh, he's not ready. We got to give him 2-3 years to see him pan out. What terrifies me is if the Browns end up in that situation and Andrew Berry is safe and Kevin Stefanski is safe, they're going to be overexcited or willing to reach on a player who's not worthy of said draft slot because that is their ticket to having job security past what drafting an Abdul Carter or a Mason Graham or a Will Johnson or whoever else, an offensive tackle, would grant a regime. It's the same issue the Giants are looking at right now. If Joe Shane, their general manager, comes back, they need a quarterback last year. They passed. They took Malik Neighbors, which Malik Neighbors has been terrific, right? But a receiver ain't saving the general manager's job. What does is a quarterback. And Earl, to your point, what scares me, you're not going to – maybe they would, so I don't want to say you're not going to, but most likely – if you draft a quarterback that high, he's going to get some time with the current regime. And I just don't trust the current regime to be the right guys to develop said quarterback. So you're kind of stuck in this endless loop of nowhere. And the reality is it's like, when you get lost and you just go drive it in circles trying to find your exit and you keep taking the wrong road, you end up right back at the same CVS you passed 38 times before. That's what it feels like the Browns are in right now. They're in a carousel with no exit strategy, and every option leads them down to another dead end. And it kind of sucks to be in because I think, and this is going to hurt me to say because I don't think Kirk Cousins has anything left. I think Kirk Cousins is their best chance to competing next year. And if Kirk Cousins is your best chance to compete, you might as well put G. Bush back there at quarterback. And let me.
I got a question though, Mike.
Shoot.
Why would Kirk Cousins want to come to Cleveland? And I know people are going to say, well, he got a relationship with Kevin Stefanski. Kirk Cousins made a lot of money in his NFL career. He had a lot of success when he was in Washington, had a lot of success in Minnesota. Things did not go right the 1 year he was in Atlanta. This is a dude that's recovering from an Achilles injury. He may or may not be better next year, but he almost 38 years old. His wife is from Atlanta. He's already settled in. I think he would retire before he come play for the Cleveland Browns.
If he retires, he don't get his money.
Okay, well, guess what? I bet you there's another situation that is more suitable towards winning for Kirk Cousins than the Cleveland Browns is. And I'm pretty sure that there's other coaches that runs some dynamics of the offense that he's familiar with outside of Kevin Stefanski. There's no reason for Kirk Cousins to want to come to Cleveland.
Well,
real quick, G, real quick before just to answer
rebuttal.
that. When you look at the teams that need quarterbacks, the Giants, the Raiders, the Titans, and the Vikings are the 4 teams that are in legitimate need of a quarterback next
Vikings
season.
got a quarterback. I think they're gonna re-Sam Darnold.
Oh, did I say Vikings? Sorry. Raiders, Titans. I meant Titans. Raiders, Browns, Giants, Titans. Those 4 teams. Vikings have not just one quarterback; they potentially have 2 quarterbacks. Also, Kirk Cousins would not go back to the Vikings after what happened last year.
Yeah.
If you look at those 4 teams, 2 of them are going to have rookies, so you can eliminate those 2, and you're looking at him being one of the 2 options. So you're right, Earl. It's certainly not a perfect situation, but if he wants to start,
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. I can't guarantee what's gonna happen. Here, for me, the way I look at it, and I've said this a little bit earlier, the Browns at this point just need somebody that is regular.
Normal.
And when we mentioned Kirk Cousins before, people kind of scoffed. And trust me, you're not winning nothing with Kirk Cousins.
No.
But what the Cleveland Browns is trying to do, and when I talk about all the time, people don't be trying to win. Like, it be certain years people don't be trying to win at all. Like, they're like, listen, get me 9. If they get 7, 8 wins next year, for them, 7, 8 wins with some progress at some certain positions is a bona fide win. If the Browns ended up with the number 1 pick, they're trading out of that. They're going to trade that pick, and they're going to trade back and move back and take something relatively safe and go with Kirk Cousins. And that's going to suck for 97% of your fan base. Because guess what? These people are cold-blooded. They good. They understand it. When he talked about them analytics, Earl, what he was basically saying was, look, man, you're not going to give us the first pick, because if they draft the quarterback, I really feel like they know that they are frauds when it comes to development. What's the chances of Shedeur Sanders coming in balling out? And we gonna put a playbook together and think about it. And when you see both of these dudes play out of structure, that's the last thing Kevin Stefanski want. Stefanski's like, you know what? I ain't doing that, bro. I just try to revamp a whole dang on offense with Deshaun Watson doing it. It don't work. Give me, we're the Case Keenums of the world. Like, give me one of them, and we'll try to build it that way, and we'll play smoke in the mirrors. But the unfortunate part about it is, and Mikey says this, the reality is, when they come in next year, they already on 8. The seat is already on 8. Like, the leather seats is warm. Like, the leather seats in the summer is warm for them, Earl. So
yeah, man, but you can't
6 wins to start.
Bro, you can't execute like that, man. That's like working for the city of Cleveland. You're on a point system, and you got 8 points, knowing 10 points you finna be fired.
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna ever be productive in that type of situation?
How
is the organization ever going to get the best out of you if you're already starting on an 8, when you know damn well just like that your job can be gone? And if that's the case, then you're prolonging a situation that's honestly inevitable. Right. So if that's the case, like, well, don't, man, what Joe Clark saying, lean on me, don't mess around with it. Go ahead and jump. Do it expeditiously.
That's why
what are we doing
here talk about why are we sitting here? Because Jimmy Haslam, let's be real, he's not patient. He just don't want to look a certain way. Like, he's like, look, I fired a bunch of people early. Well, Jimmy, I'm gonna tell you, you rightfully fired some of them people early. Don't let them gas you.
All of them. No, all of them.
They rightfully was
before, G, not a single one has gone on to like, the Browns made a mistake. And I get the perception, because I think the perception thing is like the underrated card in all of this.
Yes,
Jimmy,
the perception.
Jimmy, when he talked to Jeremy Fowler when he was leaving the owner meetings the other day, made it a point in 2 different quotes to say, I'm trying to be more patient. I'm trying to learn from my mistakes, even though we just mentioned none of these were actually mistakes. Sure, he fired guys early, but none of the guys panned out. Pat Shurmur got another chance, was terrible. Chudzinski's never done it. Like, none of the guys Freddie Kitchens is now the offensive coordinator at UNC, or was the off. Like, let's be honest about it. But he used those words intentionally. Perception and patience was something he was trying to portray to an ESPN reporter. And even though I believe in the bottom of my heart, this is a time where I wish Jimmy would just be Jimmy. And there's a lot of other times where I'm like, Jimmy, don't be you. Like, pretend you're someone else. This time, Jimmy, be you and do what has to be done. It is I just don't feel like it's going to happen. I feel like he's going to play into the public perception that he's learning and maturing and evolving as an owner. And this is the one time I think all Browns fans would be like, nah. And just to give you two numbers real quick, you guys know I'm the numbers guy. If I told you before the season, so I need you to go back to September 9th. How about that? September 9th. If I told you on September 9th, the Cleveland Browns would have a worse point differential this season than they had during the 0-17 or the 1-15 2017 season, would you say Stefanski and Barry were coming back? Real quick, yes or no? I got one more for you. No. If I had told you this season the Browns would lose, and let me make sure I have this stat right, the Browns would lose 8 games by double digits, not just 8 games, 8 games by double digits this season, and a 9th by 9 points. Would you say, hey, let's bring everyone back? Let's run this back?
No.
I closed my case, sir. The floor is yours.
We gotta buy this dude a drink tonight. Come meet me and Mike at some bar. That's the funniest thing I've seen. Fire Ivy League 3. That is hilarious to me.
Man, that's that. If you think long, you think wrong. Like we all know. Hey, have you and I been in bad little relationships where you've been hanging out with somebody? You be like, listen, this is not working, and you ain't even going together. Like y'all don't even got clothes at each other's house yet. Like you ain't met her peoples. And you're like, dude, why am I going to drag this along? She's just trying to make it to Thanksgiving. She's trying to make it to Thanksgiving. She might get a little gift out of it. No. The one of the worst, when people talk about one of the worst mistakes that you can make is drafting a quarterback because you think it's going to save your job. One of the worst things you can do is bring back a lame duck coach with the situation that you have right now, and then give said regime a top 3 pick. Like this is the part that really people don't understand. You know how hard it is to come by these types of draft capital. And if you got draft capital like this, if you got any doubts in the resume of the people in your infrastructure and the people who are making these picks, you can't turn that over. You can't turn that you can't go. Listen, if you're about to get a divorce, are you about to go buy a house? You about to co-sign a car?
That's why I said a few weeks ago, if you're going to draft a quarterback, you got to move on.
Like
if you're not, then whatever. But if you're drafting a quarterback, you got to move on. I'm not changing my opinion on that. It makes no sense to draft a quarterback with the coach on the hot seat. Look at Chicago. It's a perfect example. Like literally, they had the number 1 pick. Eberflus entered the season on the hot seat. Everybody knew it. Bears fans wanted him fired last offseason. They bring him back, and Caleb Williams still may turn out to be a good quarterback. We don't know. He had a disappointing rookie season, and Eberflus is gone. He's about to play for his 4th offensive coordinator in 4 years next year. Because
and then if you bring him back on the hot seat, you could say we're gonna sit him. You're gonna be forced to play him.
Yeah.
Because if you're 0-3, 1-5, the people are gonna be chanting for him. You want them to see him play. And then when he get out there and he throw 5 or 6 picks, or he getting dinged up or knocked into the first row of the seats, then they're gonna look at you and be like, yeah, you got to go because you're a detriment to this rookie quarterback that we got to salvage because he's about to go. Like it's just a nasty situation. It never works, McNuggets, and that's the problem because we trying to sell this to the fan base. And look, you're a couple of plays into next season away from propaganda all off season, telling you you're gonna do this, and then you 1-4, 0-5, and then you fire the coach, and then all of next season is ruined. No, I'm not.
Yeah, you can't do that, man. Listen, I really don't even care about Kevin Stefanski being the 2-time coach of the year. In the NBA, I just seen Mike Brown lose his job, and he was coach of the year, and he took the Sacramento Kings from the dumpster fire to the playoffs, and they hadn't been there in 16 years. We've watched the last six episodes of Hard Knocks, and me and Mike sit in the office and we talk. You know who's never won a coach of the year, and it's a damn good head coach? Mike Tomlin. Right. So sometimes these rewards and awards, they be having a little slant to it, right? It ain't always adding up to what you think it should be. I think Kevin Stefanski might just be JB Bickerstaff, and maybe we need a Kenny Atkinson. But if I'm Jimmy, man, listen, this ain't the Cavs. Don't stand pat. Y'all ain't got Y'all miracle season is not around the corner, man. You need to tear this thing all the way down to the studs, and you need to start all the way over. I think all of us in agreement that if you're in a situation and you're going to draft a quarterback, you cannot draft a quarterback with this current regime. It makes absolutely no sense at all. And if you think you got a pissed off fan base right now, go out here and pull that move and see how pissed off these people will be then.
I just saw a tweet from Anthony Lima of the Ken and Lima show, or the Ken Carmen and Lima. What's the name of the show?
Ken Carmen, Anthony Lima
Ken
show.
Carmen show with Anthony Lima.
Listen, ABC, y'all need to get some messaging, fellas. What is it?
It's the Ken Carmen show with Anthony Lima.
Listen, Lima's too good to be with Anthony Lima. Lima needs some more recognition. It's a great show, but
I agree.
He just had a tweet. It sparked something in my mind. We see every year worst to first. It happens every year in the NFL, right? Like things can turn around like that, but it doesn't often turn around to a team legitimately competing for a Super Bowl. It's usually a team that wins 10 games and gets into the playoffs. And when you look at the AFC right now, we know the Browns have a quarterback issue. They don't just have to find a quarterback who is an upgrade over what they currently have. If the Browns are going to truly compete, they need to find a quarterback that compete with in their own conference. This is not the entire NFL. This is just with their own conference.
Please talk. I already know. Talk.
Josh Allen,
at Mahomes,
Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. If you want to throw CJ Stroud in there, I know he had a down year this year, but I think that was more of an anomaly.
Last time we seen him, he smoked us.
Plus the young guns. Drake May was a top pick. He had a pretty promising rookie season. You have Bo Nix, who's in the running for Rookie of the Year. That is 7 to 8, and that it doesn't include Trevor Lawrence, who I don't particularly think is that good, or Tua, who I just don't trust to stay healthy. You have to find a quarterback to compete with those guys. Not just like, oh, yeah, it's an upgrade. We'll be like, no, you have to compete with those. Hell, Patrick Mahomes, who we all agree is still in his own tier in terms of quarterbacks.
He didn't make the Pro Bowl.
Wasn't a Pro Bowler, isn't in the MVP conversation. His team is 15-1. Like, that's the level we have to get to if the Browns want to seriously compete for an NFL championship. And right now, yeah, they can be a quarterback away from being competitive. I don't know if they're a quarterback away from being in legit Super Bowl contention. And if you're not going to be in that contention level, what are we talking about? Because if the goal is just to reach the playoffs, then sure, let's change our complete way we look at this team. But I don't think the Browns, and Earl, you had them in the AFC Championship this year. We're not just looking at playoffs anymore. This was a roster we thought could compete at the highest levels, and that's what makes this season so disappointing. I'd argue that since they moved back to the Cleveland area in 99, this is the worst season the franchise had in terms of expectations versus reality. And when you look at the conference, the AFC is loaded with talented quarterbacks. The Browns have nothing in that regard, and that's why I think the temptation to draft a guy is so high, which also is not a good thing because, as we've said 10 times already, I have no idea what to make of Cam Ward-Shedeur Sanders.
Go ahead, Earl.
I don't either, but I can't really get caught up on everybody else telling me that these dudes is not that good, right? I can't let my mind settle on that because I feel like we get told the same story every single year about every single class. Bo Nix is out here in the running for Rookie of the Year. And I think if we did a redraft of the 2024 NFL draft, Caleb Williams would not be the number 1 overall pick. So, like, what are we really doing and what are we really talking about? This dude was sold as the top tier, head and shoulders above everybody else, and he didn't play all that great. And if you look at how he run his mouth and how some of the veterans on Chicago look at him, it don't look like that dude is all world at the quarterback position. So sometimes these evaluations of these players, man, you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt. And if you're going to bring Kevin Stefanski back, and if Kevin Stefanski is supposed to be this dude who can evaluate and coach up quarterbacks, if he sees one of these quarterbacks and he likes one of these quarterbacks, then finally give this man the opportunity to have a marriage with a quarterback that he wants. Especially if we believe that Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson was forced upon him. Give him an opportunity with a top 3 pick to get his guy a quarterback and see what happened, regardless of what the quote-unquote experts think of these dudes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, look, this is the job. This is what the job is. Your job, for the most part, in the most important role in all of sports, is to find a quarterback. If you have the number 1 pick in the draft, and you do not come away with a quarterback that you have identified as a guy you could potentially groom, put some duct tape around, or just make a ball player. Like, here's the thing for the Browns. Like, we got to start thinking about this. There's a thing called development. There's a thing called coaching. We found out this year coaching matters by Mike Vrabel having to take over the offensive line because your offensive line coach was trash. Mm-hmm. By the way, there are coaches who are bust just like players. There are coaches who are garbage coaches at what they do, and it's all walks of life. But somehow we figure like, oh, it's a coach, so he should be good because he's in the league. No, there's bums and busts all the time. And if you accumulate too many bums on your coaching staff, you end up with, well, we can't even run the ball for 5 or 6 yards. We don't block anybody. So the thing is, the Cleveland Browns have to get serious about this. They not only have to identify the talent, they have to do something to put that talent in positions to make plays and to develop and get better. They don't do that. And that's the problem when you bring people back and you say it's just a bad year. No, it's not just a bad year. You didn't do what you needed to do to develop these guys. And thing is, Joe Burrow is better than when he came into the league. Patrick Mahomes is better than when he came into the league. Lamar Jackson is getting better. Look, he won 2 MVPs prior. The man that threw for 4,000 yards and almost ran for 1,000. He's getting 40 touchdowns and 4 picks. He's getting better. So McNuggets is just painting a picture for y'all. If you think that you just want to get back to respectable and that's going to cut it, it's not, man. We've regressed to a point where we now have to start filling some of the holes that we thought we actually had figured out, and that's a problem.
We're going to do super chats to wrap up the show. We appreciate Bleacher Report for collabing with us this season. It's been a fun time. If you like what you've seen, check us out on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on YouTube Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the 3 of us plus a few others talking all things Cleveland and mostly the Cleveland Browns. We appreciate everyone who found us on the Bleacher Report app this season, and we are going to continue our super chats over.
Don't forget, before you cut it off, Wednesday at 6 o'clock, we will do. Yours truly, G. Bush, will be back with the Cleveland Browns all off season. We'll be doing topics, and we'll start to get to the draft Wednesday at 6 o'clock, every Wednesday at 6 o'clock on the Bleacher Report app.
Sweet.
And also, man, Happy New Year to all y'all. Thanks for all the support, man. Much love to y'all. Go Browns, and hopefully they put a product out there next season that's feasible, and you all can have something to smile about this time of year next year.
Well said. All right, we're going to finish this up on the YouTube broadcast. If you want to continue watching, head over and check us out on YouTube for our Super Chats part of the show. Okay, to the Super Chats we go. First one comes from Black Play Games, who says, I really thought we were going 12-5. In our worst-case doomsday scenario, none of us would have projected the Browns at 3-14. Worse than anything we could have possibly imagined.
Guess what? I had the 12-5 plus the 4,500.
Yeah, you had the 12-5. I had the AFC Championship game, so I ain't no better than you, G. I ain't no better than you.
45.
I had 10-7, and unfortunately, we were all wrong. D4L Josh said it's a Zappy ending. Edward Hearn says, can we run back the best owner in Cleveland poll? I'm curious to see how it turns out with the current state of the Browns. We'll do that on Monday. We'll make it a topic.
I'm back Monday too, man.
G's, hopefully the ankle's doing better, G. I heard your wife yelling at you before we went on air.
Yeah. G was out here lying to people talking about he was shoveling snow. That's not what happened. I pulled a Mikey McNuggets. He caught me in the pickup game, hit him with that yank. G was down, and it was a wrap.
Earl, listen, you see how you be trying to start these rumors? Listen, man, eat the dogs and cats, man.
Jeff's Bookshelf says, I don't know, it feels different. This is embarrassing. Blink 964 says, I know a lot of people will always say Cleveland is a football town, but man, it feels like they're living off a borrowed rep from decades ago.
I agree with that.
I agree with that
10,000%. Before we go on, listen, we just played against the real Cleveland Browns. I know people don't want to admit that, but that's the truth, man. And I think that it was a bad decision in hindsight to keep the colors and the name, when in reality, the culture and the story franchise that made this city once proud is now called the Baltimore Ravens. It's the hard truth, but it's the truth.
Go Cavs.
Go Cavs.
30-4, by the way. Massive game Wednesday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Jeffrey Anderson said, They play DTR over Zappy, so the AB picks don't look that bad. AB needs to go. You can keep Stefanski. Sly says Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, make it happen. Gee, I saw you liked my post the other day. I am fully on the team of Abdul Carter if he's available. Pick.
Yeah, listen. If you end up with a pick and you got a quarterback right there, and you can actually ski mash your way backwards and get Abdul Carter with some extra stuff, because listen, I like the Jack Sawyers of the world. I like the Scadaboos of the world. I think there's some guys that can make some rosters better. Listen, trust and believe. When we watch this draft process, there was going to be playmakers in every single round of this draft. Trust and believe. Don't let them tell you, oh, this is terrible, everybody. No, it's going to be playmakers. It's up to us to find them. But if you can get Abdul Carter, put him with Myles Garrett, still draft, and we need to be talking about these mid-round moves. These mid-round, to me, mid-round quarterback is where I'm playing my flag. Mid-round, third, we got a couple of threes, somewhere in that 3 to 4 range. I'm going to play my flag right there. I feel like I can give me some extra stuff.
223 Leakin says, I can't wait to move to Brook Park. Downtown Cleveland is cursed. I'm from around here. My uncles and pops say it all the time. But let's talk Jackson Dart. I feel like he's the mid-round sleeper of a bunch of different fan bases. Right now.
I got a lot of hate for that Jackson Dart tweet, but I'm telling you, I like what I'm seeing, bro. I like our third. He might not be there in the third. I'm going to let you know that right now.
Oh God! Next super chat. now y'all out of pocket. Now he's a second round pick. Now he's a late first.
He might not be there in the third.
When it's a weak quarterback class, day 3 guys become day 2 guys. Day 2 guys become late ones, and late ones become early.
And Will Howard moving up the board. Listen, let me tell you something. Let Will Howard come out here against Texas and ball out. They're gonna be talking about him early. I'm telling you, Earl.
Yo, don't y'all be picking up what G putting down. And see, G, you got a responsibility on this platform. And Mike, bad job out of you, man, as lead producer / host. You just let him say this?
I'll tell you. Listen, that's what happens in a bad quarterback class. And when we say bad, you never know how these guys are going to pan out. But it's when you look at their traits versus other years' traits. In bad quarterback classes, day 3 picks become day 2 picks. Day 2 picks are late first, and late first are top 3 picks. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are going to be 2 of the first 3 players drafted.
And then you're going to talk yourself into it.
Yeah, no. And neither's a consensus top 10 player. Bo Nix on everyone's board, and it turns out to be looking like a good pick, so I'm not knocking the pick. Bo Nix was a 30th ranked prospect, 30 to 40, somewhere in that range. You need a quarterback, you reach because there's only so many. And if a team thinks they have something in a guy.
We ain't even seen Penix yet, right? We thought when they said Penix, I said, oh, Penix is day 2 all day. When he snuck in the first round, I said, oh, the floodgates is opening. They about to listen. I'm telling you, they draft these 2 quarterbacks. They're gonna be sitting there. We're gonna be doing because we'll be doing draft coverage. I'm already putting it on it. We'll be doing crazy draft coverage. And they're gonna be like, the Cleveland Browns are on the clock. They've moved up. There's a run on QBs, Earl.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell the fan base this right now. Because I am being tasked with this responsibility because G, you come in at 10. I promise y'all, I would not let Mike dominate off season with the Cleveland Browns. The Cavaliers are good. We are really, really good. And we might go into the NBA Finals.
But y'all have not seen before we was actually good. Draft season is where the Cleveland Browns fans won. Yeah, we won every draft season.
So this is Mike's first year with this stuff, and Mike like to get into the numbers. I promise y'all, I'm not letting him going too crazy too early. I know Mike.
Can I pull back the curtain? So we did the survey, right? We did the UCSS fan survey. We got over 400 responses. So seriously, thank you guys to everyone who responded. Do you know what? One of the questions was, what do you want to see more of in 2025?
Browns topics.
No, it wasn't specific topics, but it was the options were game recaps, free agency, roster rumors, games. The overwhelming response was roster rumors, player movement, trades, signings. Like that is, especially on YouTube.
That's what they want.
That is that is what people want. We're gonna by the time the draft rolls around, we're gonna know way too much about a lot of these guys. Put it that way.
Way too much. The last 2 days, I've been sitting out here with this ankle up, looking at. I'm like, I'm all in these films. I'm texting Sean. I'm like, yeah. You see that backside read right there? He's like, shut up, dog. You don't know what you're talking about.
We got a couple more super chats. GSE64 says, tell me you're tanking without telling me you're tanking. And do you trust this regime to pick the right guy? We already talked about that in depth. I think it's a pretty unanimous no from us. Jason Runyon says, Cousins, a 3rd to 5th round quarterback, Graham or Carter in the 1st. Go back to Stefanski offense. Sanders and Ward are overhyped, just like Caleb Williams.
Now, I thought he said Travis Hunter. Now, here's the thing. It would be very difficult. I'm not going to lie, to pass on Travis Hunter.
If quarterbacks go 1-2, G, and Travis Hunter's there at 3, do you think about trading back, or do you make the pick?
You talking to me? It's the Duke and knee-jerk. I'd run up there with the pick, but my thing is, I got to think of it from an analyst standpoint. Do you have any faith that Kevin Stefanski is going to get Travis Hunter to rock as much as he should get it?
No, that's too easy, because both of y'all just set up here and said y'all was on the Abdullah Carter train. So Travis Hunter is sitting there at 3, and you got a choice between him and Abdullah Carter. What y'all doing?
Oh, listen, if it's Travis Hunter's there, I'm taking Travis Hunter. Sorry. I'm taking Travis Hunter.
If Kirk Cousins is the quarterback, I don't know if he could throw it 20 yards to get Travis Hunter where he needs the ball.
That is very true.
Listen, can you imagine? Hey, I got to go back to the I got to go back to the Jameis Winston playbook. I don't care if he throws 17 picks. I got Jerry Jeudy and Travis Hunter spamming these 9 routes. Oh, listen, back shoulder on
who's throwing a rock? Kirk Cousins, G, in his second to last game before getting benched, Kirk Cousins was the first. This scored at Next Gen Stats, the first quarterback in NFL history with more than 20 passes and not a single one reached 35 miles an hour. The dude throws meatballs.
That's crazy.
He throws meatballs. And listen,
legs are shot.
He might be healthier next year.
Legs are shot.
Year after the Achilles, you should be better. So maybe
legs are shot.
I have no faith in Kirk Cousins.
Listen, but I got faith that Jameis Winston to throw it there. And he'll get it there. He's going to get it to the other team, too. Listen, if I'm just looking for splash, I'm not going to be running the ball 100 times with Travis Hunter, telling him to go block. That's not what we got him for.
And in a perfect world, man, I hope Travis Hunter and Cam Ward is gone so you could just take Abdul Carter.
Right.
And this is a mute point. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't want Shedeur Sanders for no real reasons outside of I think it'll be good content, good views for UCSS. But if I'm being realistic for the Cleveland Browns, like just go ahead and get Cam Ward and Travis Hunter off the board so I can take Abdul Carter and not have to wreck my own brain.
Right.
If I'm being totally real. So.
Because I would hurt, because for me to see him on there available, I'm not gonna lie to y'all.
It's like fantasy football. It's like having that number 1 pick in fantasy football.
I'm sorry. There's no way I can see Travis Hunter sitting there
and not
have that 12 jersey ready to go in the dog pound.
I can't do that.
You get the 12 right now. Rodney McLeod, man, 2 touchdowns this year. It's like the 3rd highest on the team. He's a two-way player. He plays defense and had the 3rd most touchdowns on the whole roster. Listen, we got the OG Travis Hunter right now.
Stop. He's never he can't get Travis Hunter's girl. Never mind. Let's stop playing.
Hey, somebody said his girl is a distraction. His girl won't be a distraction in Cleveland.
Hey, listen, we get wives up out of here. That's what we do. And you know what the funny thing is? The messed up part about it is, either way, I'm gonna just tell you about us. We kind of messed up as a fan base. Y'all know good and well Travis Hunter is good. Y'all just got insecurities about it. You're like, I don't know about all that flash and dash and all that dancing and stuff. You know you don't want Shedeur Sanders anyway. You never wanted Shedeur Sanders. You don't want nothing that comes from Colorado. Let me just keep it real. Just be honest with us. Just be honest with us. You don't want no Shedeur Sanders. You don't want the racket. You like, this has been way too volatile to start with. I just want somebody that's going to be here to do their thing. So for all of our hope, please, we hope that Travis Hunter is not on the board at 3.
I mean, I'm just trying to understand how the man win the Heisman, the award for the best offensive player and the award for the best defensive player in football, and people is basically in the comments like this dude is trash. He's not gonna be a good pro. Like, what am I missing? Travis Hunter been a dog ever since he stepped on the football field. Like, don't let him go into Jackson State and all that other stuff fool you. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school.
Number one,
like number 1 overall with offers to go anywhere you want, man. Don't I don't know who y'all listening to or what you haven't
What
watched,
you've been
man,
watching,
but clearly either
crazy.
your eyes is broke or you just being brainwashed,
or
man.
you just
Dude is
don't
a
know what you're
baller.
talking about, or
A
you just
flat
don't
out
like him.
baller.
Or also,
Just say you don't want him. Just say you don't
Just say-
want him on your
But
team.
you cannot slander his talent level. Like, you just can't. Like, this dude is the best receiver and the best corner. Like, his corner skills is like omniscient. He's just like, yeah, I know you're throwing the ball, I'm jumping at. No one jumps routes like that. And for Deion Sanders, and by the way, y'all be disrespecting Prime a little bit. Deion Sanders is the greatest corner ever to live. And by the way, he played baseball and didn't even practice. He's one of the greatest athletes. For him to say Travis Hunter is that cold, Travis Hunter is that deal. Let's not play no games with that. Let's go. We be acting crazy in the chat.
Earl asking if I take Carter or Hunter.
Threw Mike off.
Would I be crazy if I said Carter? Seriously?
No,
because
Abdul Carter a bad man.
Listen, and we'll finish the super chats in one sec. I understand that his path is exactly the same as Micah Parsons. They wear the same number. They look the same. They play the. If you could tell me we could pair Micah Parsons with Myles Garrett, hell, we already got some other corners. I know they ain't great, but like, I'd have a hard time passing on either. You know what? I trade back. I don't want to pick the wrong one.
Y'all remember what Miles said, right? So if our offense is only going to score 17, I guess we got to hold our opponents to 14. Yeah. So, I mean, you compare Carter with Miles, and yeah, you're going to hold opponents to 14. But guess what? We're going to be right back on this show next year doing the post-game show talking about how the Browns offense suck. They ain't got no playmakers.
Abdul Carter's also playing tight end for me.
Okay.
If Travis can play both ways, and so can Abdul.
All right, cool. I'm taking Carter then. I got me a tight end and a pass rusher. Boom. There you go.
Next up, GSE64 says, you three are the bright spot of the season. We appreciate you, GSE.
Thank you.
Soul Train says, hoping something good happens. I appreciate y'all. Sapper Daddy said, this year was wild to watch how could you fail this bad, then have the audacity to say we have the right people in place? No, we don't. GS says the Lions, the Texans, the Chargers all turned it around. It wasn't 1 year, though, with the Lions. The Chargers turned it around, but do you guys believe the Chargers can win the Super Bowl?
No.
Nah.
I do not believe that. Do you believe the Texans can win the Super Bowl?
No.
That is my point. They can turn it around. I just don't think you go from horrible to legit Super Bowl contenders in one one season. The Lions, by the way, turned it around, and 2 or 3 years later have now put themselves in legit contention. And if they were healthy, I think they'd be the favorite.
Because the Lions, they got the best offensive line. They got
weapons.
They got one of the best tight ends, one of the stud receiver,
2 great running backs,
2 great backs. Thunder, lightning back. Yeah, they just. Oh my gosh, bro.
Next up, Sapper Daddy says if they draft poor and run it back, they think you are stupid. TBE Trucking says you better draft Shador Sanders. English Bank says Tet McMillan and Jerry Jeudy would be mean. Hey, if you want to see some good tape, the Arizona-Colorado game this year, there were about 7 one-on-one matchups between McMillan, who could be the first receiver taken, and Travis Hunter, who we just talked about. Obviously incredible. Go watch that one-on-one battle. They each won a few reps. Really, really entertaining one-on-one battle. And he's quite a different body type and receiving style than Jerry Jeudy. But I don't know if you're taking him at 3. If you trade back, he may be more in line. GSE says, watching Burrow, he's amazing. BS says, not a Browns fan, but I appreciate the content this season. BS, we appreciate you.
Thank you, BS.
That's a big compliment. We get a lot of people who don't even like the Browns. They just pull up. We like y'all, man. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
we hope other cities get an ultimate platform like this, so you guys could have your own place to vent. And hopefully there's less venting than this, because this is not, we want to be celebrating, not venting. 2 more. Gary says, thanks for the therapy this year, guys. And last but not least, 223 Leakin says, get Travis an edge. Get Travis an edge in the second, a couple O-line in the third, maybe Dart in the fourth, and let Jameis run the first few.
This is going to be a great offseason because here's the thing. Last offseason, we didn't have no picks, and we knew exactly what we were doing. If you told me the Browns were picking a number of anybody, moving back, trading up, doing whatever, I couldn't tell you was lying. there's a lot of great opinions going around, and from Travis Hunter to whether you draft the quarterback to, hey, Genty is a guy that some people want on the board. So it's a lot of talk that we're gonna have during this offseason, especially given the fact that the Browns will have a high pick, and this is a first on the platform, I will say.
And last but not least, Trey Hendrickson did just get his 15th sack, so
yeah,
he is now the sack king of the season. And Christopher Sanders said Zappy threw a pick to Finch from the movie Wildcats. Yeah, if you know what that means.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys tuning in all season to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show Browns post-game report. We wish we had more celebrations. Only 3 this year, and they were few and far in between. Way too many losses, but hopefully we right the ship. For next season, we will recap this game. We'll talk a lot of Cavs on Monday, and we're going to do the best owner in Cleveland poll as well. We appreciate you guys for tuning in every week. We do this for you guys, and we wouldn't do it without your support. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much. Happy New Year from Earl, from GM McNuggets. See you Monday. Peace.
Peace.